it's kind of like an inverse Borat, what happens here. In that...
Go on. One of Will Ferrell's best friends transitions, and so, of course, the two of them have to go on a cross-country road trip, because that's what you do. It's the new documentary Will and Harper is dropping today on Netflix.
Yeah, it's been in theaters for like a week, and now it's on Netflix, and it is so worth watching. I really hope you seek this out because it works on so many different levels at once, and it will surprise you over and over again, and it's just incredibly lovely. So I do hope you check it out. And subscribe to us here at Breakfast All Day, if you would. We love documentaries, and I think not a lot of channels do documentaries, but that's always really important to us here. So if you like them too, come and hang out with us.
You recognize this guy? This is the Hollywood movie star.
No.
You don't recognize
Okay. That's okay. Roll up the window.
Will Ferrell and Harper Steele have been friends for like almost 30 years. They worked together on Saturday Night Live. And when Will Ferrell was starting as one of the cast members, Harper Steele was one of the writers. And some of the more gonzo things that Will Ferrell has done over the years, Harper Steele has been a part of, whether it is Eurovision or that movie he did entirely in Spanish, Casa de mi Padre.
Oops, I Crapped My Pants.
What's Oops, I Crapped My Pants? I don't know that.
It was a sketch on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Or he's wearing a shirt at one point. It was, yeah, you're right. So some of the weirder, more out there Will Ferrell roles, Harper Steele's been a part of. And then in the last few years, Will Ferrell got a letter from Harper saying that I am transitioning. Will Ferrell knew Harper Steele as a man. Everyone they work with at SNL knew Harper Steele as a man, but that's not who Harper really was. And so they decide to go on this road trip together because Harper for years loved traveling across the US and would go to like seedy dive bars and
Truck
cheap
stops.
diners. Yeah, truck stops and cheap places. And like, that's the America that she enjoyed going to see. Now that she's living life as a woman, she didn't feel comfortable doing all of that. And so Will Ferrell was like, why don't I go with you? And I can be a buffer for you. And, you know, you have somebody who is that extremely well-known and well-liked as Will Ferrell that can kind of help, you know, introduce the world to you, introduce strangers to you and make you feel more comfortable. And so it's kind of like an inverse Borat, what happens here. In that,
Go on.
In that, they're going across the country, but they're being authentically themselves. There's a couple of spots where Will Ferrell like puts some kind of goofy disguise just to be funny, but like they are being who they truly are.
Sure.
Right. And in going to these small towns, particularly like in the Midwest and the South, what they find is the best in people. For the most part.
For the most part.
Right? I feel like the whole point of Borat is to like satirize the closed-mindedness and the bigotry that can exist in America. Here they find the best in people, and they are surprised by that. And it is touching and surprising over and over again. There's a whole scene in a dive bar in Oklahoma that does not at all play out the way that you think it might when Harper first sets foot in there. That's all I want to say. That's one of the lovelier moments that they have. And along the way, Will asks her questions, you know, and because they've been such good friends for so long, she knows that these questions are coming from a pure place of wanting to understand.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful because he serves as our conduit in that regard. Maybe he's asking the kind of questions that we might have as well, but you don't want to be tactless. You don't want to be crass.
Right.
You know, you're curious, but you don't want to be intrusive. And so that's helpful. It also helps greatly that, you know, of all the people in all the world to escort her on this trip, you have someone who is so incredibly popular, but not just popular, but like popular on a mainstream level.
Yeah. And
popular with a certain kind of guy, right? Yeah. Like a lot of the movies that are Will Ferrell's best loved, Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Step Brothers. Yeah, exactly. Old school Step Brothers. They're not like bro-y humor, but like bros dig that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I think that is so essential in opening people's eyes for Will Ferrell to be the conduit. So I thought it was just lovely. And a lot of SNL people that they worked with pop in along the way, and that's entertaining too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a movie I think that works on kind of a micro and a macro level in terms of the transness of it all. On the micro level, you have like these two old friends, and Harper transitions during the pandemic, which interestingly enough is also how Elliot Page transition. You know, I think there was something about that moment of like being with yourself and closed off from everything else that really, I think, for a lot of folks, allowed time for reflection and kind of, you know, figure things out. So yeah, you have their relationship, and you have Ferrell like tentatively like asking the questions and trying to figure out stuff, and Harper being very like, yes, let's talk about it. What do you want to know? I know where it's coming from, and so I want to answer these questions from you. And then, yeah, there's the macro level of Harper hitting the road again and going to the kind of divey places that she would have gone to pre-transition, and now wondering if it was okay. And what I really admire about this movie is that every time I had a question about something, then the movie would kind of answer it, you know? So like when I'm thinking, okay, well, yeah, this is the experience of a trans person, you know, on a road trip through America with a beloved movie star. And then you get the scene in Oklahoma where Harper goes in the bar by herself and Will waits outside to see how it's going to go before entering. And then I thought, like, after that, they go to a stock car race in Oklahoma, and Harper has this realization of, like, I thought people were going to have a problem with me, but I'm realizing is that I have a problem with me, you know, and, you know, a lot of coming out is a lot of internalized, you know, homophobia, transphobia, whatever. And I thought, okay, that's a valid point, but also I think it's also valid to be worried about traveling through parts of this country. And then we get a scene in Texas where things don't go so well, you know? Right. So like every time I thought about a thing, the movie would kind of be like, oh yeah, no, we thought about that too. And answered along the way. So yeah, I found it really, you know, charming and, you know, I think both of these people are really sort of open to stuff, and there's obviously a lot of love there between them. And, you know, I think that it provides an example for people to watch, like, hey, here's a trans person who is, you don't have to be afraid of, and they're not this sort of faceless, you know, the right is always trying to kind of demonize. Like, these are real people with real concerns. And you love Will Ferrell, and Will Ferrell loves Harper, so you should love Harper too, you know.
And Molly Shannon loves Harper, and Seth Meyers loves Harper, and Will Forte loves Harper, and Tim Meadows loves Harper. Yeah.
You know, but I think it's also for people who maybe have friends who transition, kind of offers a roadmap, if you will, about like how to continue that relationship and how to be able to talk about stuff. And so, yeah, I think this movie can do a lot of good in a lot of different ways, but it never feels heavy-handed or didactic. No. Like there's a real, like, you know, Harper is a very funny person and is like this brilliant comedy writer, and like, you know, you look at her credits and all the stuff that she created for Ferrell to do, like, so it's not like, you know, there are tears, but it's never weepy, you know, and so yeah,
it's legitimate.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this movie is really terrific, and I hope that the people who need to see it see it.
Right. Plus, Harper is 61 years old.
Yeah.
And so like that presents a whole bunch of other challenges as far as like, how do you dress? How do you date? Which I think anybody can relate to, no matter who you are, no matter what your experience has been. And then she just has the added level of like, okay, I'm now having to do this in a totally different way than I've ever done before. So I think there's some relatability to it along the way. Yeah. And like the tears between her and Will Ferrell, like come from a place of like deep friendship and respect and caring. Like when things go wrong or things get really deep, like it all feels very true. Josh Greenbaum directed this, who also did Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar and Strays.
Yeah, wow.
Right?
Okay.
The trash talking Boston Terrier movie Strays. So it's just a really different film from him, and very intimate and understated, even though it has a lot of big laughs. It feels very, very small and very true. I did wonder along the way though, like in the bar in Oklahoma, or like they go to a Pacers game.
The camera crew, like how present are they? Yes.
Yes. I was thinking like, you know, did they have to go in ahead of time and say like, look, we're going to be shooting something here. So like how much of a surprise is it to everybody that like, oops, Will Ferrell's here. But then sometimes people are like, oh, hi, like the guy who owns the costume store in Vegas. Yeah. Oh, and then the kid on the unicycle. Like, this is Will Ferrell. Oh. Okay.
Well, there's like a gas station guy where I was like, he's a major movie star. And it's like, okay. Like,
and that's kind of funny too, is like, how is everyone going to react? And of course, Will Ferrell being Will Ferrell, he's always like, this is the moneymaker. You know, he's like making fun of his own self. Like, so it's really well done. So I'm going to say like a 9. I think it was great.
I'm also a 9. Yeah, I think it's terrific. People should check it out.
Great. It is on Netflix. Please watch it and enjoy. Shed a tear or two.